In this video, we're going to create an application that just sort of plays around with different data types so we can see how that works. And then we're going to do a little casting, so just to get some examples of how all that operates. I'm in my command window. I'm going to start a Notepad application, Notepad++. I'm going to create a file called data types. Remember, I need to create a file name .java that is the same name as my class. So I'll hit enter. That should create a window for me that you can't see. It went off screen. There we go. And now we've got a Notepad file that is datatypes.java. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is create our class. So we're going to create a public class, and that has to be the same name and spelling. Datatypes.java, public class data types. And what we're doing when we're creating a class, this class is simply a collection of code that can be, and we'll learn more about that as we go along, but it's a grouping of code. And it's a specific grouping of code, and in this particular case it's going to be our application, and we'll get more detailed about that as we go along. I'm going to save that, but for now just recognize that a class is a collection of code, grouping of code. Okay? And remember, all of our classes have to start off with, we need at least a main method in order to run. And for now, we're taking advantage, or taking for granted, that it's going to be public static void main. Notice all my casing, capital string, argument args, and then my open and closing braces. Now it's up to you. I like to have mine on the next line, but some people prefer it on the same line. Either way is correct as long as you're consistent. So let's be consistent here. Okay, so some of this is going to be a review, and let's see where we go from here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some variables, declare some variables that we're going to use. Declare variables. Okay, I'm going to create an int, and this is going to be called first number. I'm going to create an int second number. I'm going to create an int sum. I'm going to add those numbers together, int difference, subtract those numbers, and then also, let's keep it an int for now, int average them. Okay. So what I'd like to do at this point is I'm going to get some information from the user. I'm going to have the user input these two numbers. In this case, they're going to be integers, and we will do the appropriate processing on them and then output. So I'm going to need to get input from our user. Okay. In order to get input from our user, we have to utilize the scanner class. So I'm going to go up here and type in import java.util.scanner. Okay. And then I need to create a new instance of that scanner. So scanner, I'm going to call mine input equals new scanner of the type system.in. Okay. And then let's make a prompt to our user, system.out.println. Oh, let's do a print. Please enter in an integer. Okay. And then we need to get that integer. That'll be our first number. First number equals input.next int. Okay. And we need to get in a second number, so system.out.print. Please enter in a second integer. Okay. So now I'm getting two values from the keyboard, and we need to do our process our values. Okay. First one we're going to do, we'll take the sum, the first number plus the second number. The difference is equal to first number minus second number. And then we'll take the average. Average is equal to the sum divided by 2. Okay. Great. Now let's output the processing to the monitor. output outcomes. Okay, so system.out.print line. This time I use that line, so it'll create a new, enter a new line number after it's, I keep saying line number, enter a new line after it's finished printing this line. We'll do first number, oops, I didn't mean to put that in quotes, let's start that again. First number, concatenate, plus sign, plus second number, plus, that's a plus, equals, plus, and we had sum for that, I believe. Okay. And now we'll do the same thing for the difference. We'll copy, make my life a little easier there. First number minus second number is equal to the difference, diffference, and then print out our average. System.out.print line, the average of first number plus and plus let's see, and we need our second number, that's not in quotes. Second number plus is concatenate and then average. Okay, so assuming we did all that right, we should be getting our first number, sum, our difference, and then our average. So let's go ahead and save this. See if I can make this window smaller and come over to my command line here. There we go. So if I do a dir directory listing, I should see that I have a data types.java. That's what we just did. In order to compile it, I write Java C data types. I spell it correctly with the same case, .java. Java C is not recognized as an external command, which means it's not in my path. So I'm going to add that to my path. That was in the other video. It should have been already set, so I should have checked that before I ran this. But there's another way that I can do this. I can do set path equal to %path, which means whatever was in the path, we need to add to it. And now I need to add something else. C:\\\program, I think this is it, program, this is off the top of my head, files, /java, /bin, let's see, I don't remember what the path is. This is unscripted, so we're just kind of winging it here. Let's see, so, which is perfectly fine, this happens. So C, program files, and then Java, and then I need this JDK, which is the most current one, so let's add that to our path. Java, let's see, where was that? There we go. Java, this isn't in your window, is it? There we go. Java, and then JDK 1.8.0 _102, and then the bin directory, because that's the path where my Java C executable is. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so close that out, and if I've typed everything in correctly, I'm going to type in the word path to verify that that path was now added. C:\program files Java, it was. So now if I type in Java C and I go back to where we just were, type.java, I should have it, and boom. So now we're getting closer. So now we've got the Java compiler in our path, so we can run it, but I still have a compile error, and the compile error says that it doesn't recognize second number. So let's go back into our program. Second number, let's see if we can get a little bit more information. Line 23, so let's look at line 23. Sum first number plus second number, so I must have spelled it differently. Second number, first number plus second number seems to be, I see what the problem is. We did not get a second number, did we? So the problem is we're trying to add a value that we never initialized. That's what it's trying to tell me, has never been initialized, which means nothing has been set because I forgot to get a input for that. So let's do that now. Perfect. So we're going to have this be second number. Perfect. Now I need to save that. I can see that it's unsaved, so I'm going to save it and run it again. Java C data types.java. And ideally everything is run. We didn't get any errors. So now I can do a dir, and I should have that Java data types.class. So there's our bytecode, and I should be able to run that. So now I can just type in Java and the name of that class, types. A lot of work, huh? Please enter in an integer. Okay, so I'm going to enter in a 14. I'm going to enter in an 11. And it printed out the things that we asked it to print. 14 plus 11 is 25, etc., etc. So notice when it did its calculations, it returned an int because it recognized both of those are ints. And we, in fact, returned an int. Okay, that was a lot of work, but we should be good to go now. So now let's change this up, and we're going to make these all doubles instead. So I'm going to make that a double, 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 toil and trouble, double. Now I have to make sure that I get a double from the keyboard, or I convert the double from the keyboard. And now let's see what happens when we, I'm going to save that. I have to recompile this, Java C. Everything should work now though. Java, perfect. And then run it, Java. Data types. Enter a number. Let's do the same numbers. Let's do 14 and 11. Oops, I didn't miss the one, but you get the idea. So now what you see is that we're outputting, even though I put in two integers, 14 and 1, because they were, the data type when we declared them were doubles, it output doubles. It outputted 14.0, 1.0, so it outputted them as decimals. So that's all well and good. But let's change things up even more. All right, so let's put these back to ints. Int, int. And let's see what happens if we, I'm going to keep these as ints and ints. Okay, so we know what happens here. Okay. Oh my goodness, I'm getting emails. All right. Spam emails. Yay. All right, so now let's see. We are going to just change, let's just change average to double. Okay. And now what we should get is, because we are dividing an integer by an integer, but average is a double, average, well, let's just see what happens. So instead of typing all of that in again, I'm just going to use my up arrow, which will, this is my up arrow, this is my down arrow. It's just going to scroll through things I've already input, so I don't have to keep typing it. So I'm going to recompile that. I'm going to run it. This time when I enter in 14 and 5, for example, 14 and 5 are integers, but remember that we made average a double. So because average is a double, we got this little 0.0 on the end. And the reason why we got 0.0 on the end is because when these two are divided, an integer divided by an integer is going to return an integer and just truncate whatever the decimal is. So even though we wanted average to be a decimal, it received a decimal already truncated. So it received an integer and then gave it a 0. All right, well, that's not quite what I wanted to do, so let's try a different route. So this time, let's cast. Let's use the casting. And the way that we cast things is, we're going to cast this into a double. So I'm going to type parentheses double. So what I'm asking it to do now is, first, I'm going to cast the sum into a double. So instead of dividing, having two operands be integers, one's going to be a double and the other is going to be an integer. So because there's a double, this should return the decimals. So let's run that. So now if we run that, I'm using my arrow up key, Java C, no compile errors, run that. And let's try it this time. There's an integer, and in fact, we're now getting that decimal point. One other way to look at this, if we had done it this way, if we had cast this whole expression, what do you think we would get? Well, let's try it and see if we can figure out why whatever the result was. Let's see, make this a smaller so we can see the whole thing at once. There we go. So I'll compile it and run it. And this time I'm going to put in 14 and, oops, let's say 5. And oh, it gave me a double, but it truncated that decimal. Why? What happened? Well, what happened here was the cast happened after the expression was evaluated. So since sum is an integer, 2 is an integer, whatever decimal was in the solution got truncated, and then that truncation got casted to a double. So the integer got casted to a double. So we've lost the decimal, but we still get a 0.0 because these are both doubles. So just things to be aware of, and ways that you have to make sure you're getting the results that you want when you're using your different data types.